So let me start with Chile's green hydrogen ambitions. When is the timeline to start producing this commercially, and what else has to be done in terms of policies for this to actually become a viable policy in the future?
Well, we already produced our first molecules a couple of months ago for the mining industry locally. We think this is going to be huge. We have enormous and very unique renewable resources to produce cheap and clean electricity, so therefore hydrogen. We have already 60 projects being developed in Chile. They're being developed by more than 100 international and local companies. And we think we will be able to reach a price that will make it competitive with fossil fuels around 2025 or so. So we're seeing a lot of traction around it.
Of course, this is also coming at a time when we have this focus on the global energy crisis as well. With this backdrop, do you expect any risks that Chile will have to face some rationing next year, given the ongoing crisis, not to mention the local drought?
Well, that is a very unfortunate combination, right? The local drought and the prices of fossil fuels. We still have a very reliable, diversified power grid, so it's stressed out a little bit, but we're doing well. I don't think we're going to have much problems. And I think these crises in fossil fuels markets just emphasizes the necessity to move quickly into renewables. Green hydrogen would be a big part of that mix of clean energy. So I think we're going to do fine, and it just emphasizes the necessity to move into that direction.
What about the lithium market? What's been the interest in Chile's supply from some of these would-be bidders?
Well, today we are #2 producer in the world, just after Australia. We have the biggest reserves in the world and the lowest cost of production. We are in the midst of a process to invite newcomers to invest in Chile to produce lithium. We have already received 57 companies that are interested in participating in the process. We will have more details towards the end of the year, but we're seeing a lot of interest. They realize the potential that Chile has, not only in lithium, but as a very stable business environment, long tradition in mining, and they see that most analysts agree that the demand for lithium will increase substantially in the coming years. So I think it's looking very promising at the time.
There's quite a bit of uncertainty when it comes to the tax front, though. In fact, the Senate is getting set to vote on a bill that would potentially, in terms of the royalty bill, potentially leave Chile with one of the heaviest tax burdens out of copper-producing countries. Is there an alternative here? Any scope for an alternative scheme or tax proposal to be presented?
Well, that was a tax proposal that was presented by congressman, right? It was not supported by the government. That is very important to know. We do not agree with that legislation. We think we can have a discussion around mining taxes. There might be some rule for adjustment, but the proposal they put is completely out of the range. I think at the Senate, it was approved in the lower chamber, but I think most senators understand that it's out of the range, that it would hurt Chile's competitive advantage. So we feel pretty confident that the legislation as it is won't get approved. And we are in discussions with all relevant players to make sure that with good data, good analysis, and after the elections, because this is not a very good time to have that discussion, that we can reach a reasonable agreement to make sure we have the environment that attracts the investment we require. We have a pipeline of $70 billion to be developed over the next decade, right, to increase our capacity with production. And we think we have broad agreement that this piece of legislation is not a good one.
What about the push from opposition lawmakers to set a horizon when it comes to coal, but also for nat gas powered power plants? What's the government stance there?
Yes, so we reached an agreement in 2019 to phase out all our coal capacity. And I was in Glasgow just a couple of days ago, and we joined the Powering Fast Coal Alliance as part of the bigger agreement of many countries to phase out coal. We agree with that. We said we're going to phase out coal no later than 2040, and we're making efforts to do that by 2030. But to do that, we need to, keep developing our renewables, transmission lines, and others. We don't think that a law with a, rigid date is necessarily a good idea. It depends on how the grid is evolving. And 2030 might be a good date. But for coal, gas, we think it's going to play an important role, providing flexibility to the system. So we think 2030 for coal might make sense, not for gas. It will take longer, we think, to phase out gas. And I think, again, most congressmen understand that.
What about the projections for LNG demand then over the next few years? Are you looking to sign more contracts to that end?
Yes, so LNG today provides around 20% of our power generation. We get some of the LNG, all of the LNG through 2 terminals we have, but we also get some gas, natural gas from Argentina through the 7 pipelines we have. The market, as you know, today is a bit bumpy, so it's getting challenging to get some LNG. But I think this is just a short-term issue. In the long run, we don't see a lot of problem there. We are a relatively small market in the worldwide context, so we think it's going to play a relevant role, and we feel confident that it's going to be there when we need it. So it's okay. I think we're doing okay. It's just a short-term issue globally, but we have, as I said, a robust and diversified power grid.